I should have known something was wrong when I found the front door unlocked. After 12 years of marriage to Anna, I'd learned she was obsessive about security, double-checking locks, setting alarms, the whole paranoid routine. But there I was, standing on my own porch at 6:30 on a Tuesday evening, turning a handle that should have been secured. The house felt different the moment I stepped inside. Empty. Not just quiet. Empty in that bone-deep way that hits you when something fundamental has shifted in your world. My work boots echoed against the hardwood floors as I moved through the living room, and that's when I saw it. Our wedding photo lay face down on the coffee table. The frame was cracked, spider webbing across Anna's smile. Next to it sat a manila envelope with my name written in her precise handwriting. "Well, this ought to be good," I muttered, dropping my tool bag by the door. 20 years in IT contracting had taught me to expect the worst-case scenario, but nothing quite prepares you for finding your life dismantled by your own wife. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper and our joint bank statements. The note was brief, clinical. "David, I've decided to pursue other opportunities. The house is yours. Don't try to contact me. I deserve better than this life we've built." I read it twice before the bank statements caught my attention. Our savings account, the one we'd been feeding for 3 years to buy the lakefront cabin Anna always talked about, showed a balance of $12.37. Last week, it had held $43,000. "Other opportunities," I said aloud, my voice echoing in the suddenly cavernous living room. "Right." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, though I already knew what I'd find. Anna's closet was empty except for a few old sweaters and the bridesmaid dress from her sister's wedding that she'd always hated. Her jewelry box was gone. Her laptop, gone. Even her collection of self-help books had vanished from the nightstand. But she'd left the wedding album. It sat open on her pillow, turned to a photo of us dancing at the reception. We looked happy. Hell, we looked like we actually liked each other. I slammed it shut and tossed it into the closet with the rejected sweaters. My phone buzzed. A text from my boss, Chad Morrison. "Hey Dave, taking tomorrow off. Family emergency. Handle the Peterson install solo." Family emergency. Right. I'd been installing network systems for Morrison Tech Solutions for 5 years, and Chad had never missed a day for anything short of the apocalypse. The timing felt convenient, suspiciously convenient. I opened my laptop and logged into our bank account, studying the transfer details. The $43,000 had been moved to an account I didn't recognize, but the routing number looked familiar. I'd seen it before on Anna's pay stubs from her new job at Morrison's company, Morrison Tech Solutions, where Anna had been working as their head of human resources for exactly 6 months, where my boss, Chad Morrison, made a point of mentioning how lucky he was to have found someone with Anna's special talents. The pieces clicked together with the satisfying precision of a network connection finally finding its port. Well, I said, leaning back in my desk chair. Looks like Chad's family emergency is about to become a whole lot more complicated. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the back porch, looking out at the yard Anna had spent 3 years perfecting. Her rose bushes were in full bloom, and the vegetable garden she'd insisted on planting was thriving. Everything looked normal, peaceful even, like the kind of life people spend decades building together. Too bad she'd decided it wasn't good enough for her anymore. My phone rang. Anna's mother. "David, honey, I just wanted to check on you. Anna called and said you two were having some difficulties." "Difficulties," I repeated. "Is that what she called it?" "She's staying with a friend for a while. Maybe some space will help you both figure things out." "Margaret, did Anna mention which friend?" Or did she forget to share that detail? The pause stretched long enough for me to finish half my beer. I'm sure she'll call you when she's ready to talk. I'm sure she will. Thanks for checking in. I hung up before Margaret could launch into her usual speech about marriage requiring compromise and understanding. Anna had clearly inherited her talent for creative storytelling from somewhere. Another text from Chad. Actually might need a few days. We'll call when I'm back in town. I laughed. Actually laughed. Sitting there on my porch with a beer in my hand and my marriage scattered around me like broken glass. The sheer audacity of it was almost impressive. Anna steals our savings, runs off with my boss, and they both think they can just disappear for a romantic getaway while I clean up the mess. They'd underestimated me. People always did. I was just Dave the IT guy, the quiet one who fixed their computers and installed their networks and never caused any drama. Reliable, predictable Dave who'd been boxing since high school and still hit the gym 3 times a week, but who never felt the need to advertise it. I finished my beer and went back inside to start making some calls. First to my lawyer buddy Ray, who ran a small practice downtown when he wasn't coaching at the boxing gym. Then to the bank to file a fraud report. Then to the police to report the theft of jointly held assets. Anna wanted to pursue other opportunities? Fine. But she was about to discover that some opportunities come with consequences she hadn't anticipated. I spent the evening documenting everything: bank transfers, text messages, the timing of Chad's sudden absence from work. By midnight, I had a file thick enough to choke a horse and a plan that would make both of them regret the day they decided to play games with my life. The house felt different now, but not empty anymore. It felt like a war room. Morning came with the kind of gray drizzle that makes everything look washed out and depressing. Perfect weather for discovering just how deep the betrayal ran. I'd been up since 5, going through Anna's things with the methodical precision of a crime scene investigator. She'd been careful, but not careful enough. In the back of her jewelry box, I found a receipt from Romano's, the expensive Italian place downtown, dated 3 weeks ago. Dinner for $2, $140. We hadn't been to Romano's. I'd been working late that night, installing servers for a law firm across town. Her laptop was gone, but she'd left the old tablet we'd bought for the kitchen. People always forget about the secondary devices. I powered it up and found her email still logged in. Apparently, Anna wasn't as tech-savvy as she thought. The emails painted a picture that would have been laughable if it hadn't been my life getting destroyed. Chad Morrison, my boss of 5 years, writing to my wife about exploring new possibilities and leaving the past behind. Anna responding with messages about finally feeling appreciated and being with someone who understands my worth. The most recent exchange was from yesterday morning. Chad, everything ready for tonight? Booked the cabin through Friday? Anna, can't wait. David will be working late on the Peterson job anyway. He never pays attention to what I'm doing. Anna, transferred the money. $43,000 should cover us for a while. Chad, you're amazing. This is going to be perfect. I screenshot everything and forwarded it to my personal email. Then I kept digging. Anna had been busy. Her browser history showed searches for divorce lawyers, apartment rentals in the next state over, and something called How to Protect Assets During Separation. She'd been planning this for months, but the real treasure was buried in her deleted emails, messages with her best friend Lisa Hartman, the yoga instructor who'd been coming to our house every Sunday for the past year for what Anna called Girls' Night. Lisa, are you sure about this? Dave's not going to just roll over. Anna, he's too comfortable. He'll whine for a while, then move on. Men like David always do. Lisa, what if he fights the money transfer? Anna, joint account, perfectly legal. By the time he figures it out, Chad and I will be settled in Colorado. Lisa, still think you should have just divorced him first. Anna, this way is cleaner, less messy. He gets the house, I get the cash, and a fresh start. Colorado. That explained Chad's family emergency. They weren't just having an affair, they were running away together like a couple of teenagers. With my money. My phone rang. Ray Kowalski, my lawyer friend and boxing coach. Dave, got your message. You want to tell me what the hell happened? Anna cleaned out our savings and took off with my boss. I need to know what my options are. Jesus, how much money we talking about? 43,000, joint account, but I can prove she transferred it without my knowledge or consent. That's theft, brother. Doesn't matter whose name is on the account if she took it with intent to permanently deprive you of your share. You file a police report yet? Next on my list. Good. Bring me copies of everything. Bank statements, emails, whatever you've got. We'll nail her for this. After I hung up, I drove to the police station downtown. The desk sergeant, a tired-looking woman named Officer Martinez, took my statement with the enthusiasm of someone processing parking tickets. So your wife took money from your joint account and left town, she said, not looking up from her paperwork. She stole $43,000 and fled the state with her lover. Joint account? Yes, but then it's a civil matter. You'll need to handle this through divorce court. She transferred the money without my knowledge or consent, then disappeared. That's theft. Officer Martinez finally looked up. Mr. Patterson, unless you can prove she intended to permanently deprive you of the money, this is a domestic dispute. File for divorce, split the assets through the court. I have emails proving she planned to take the money and leave the state permanently. That got her attention. I showed her the screenshots on my phone, watching her expression change as she read Anna's messages with Lisa. Okay, this is different. Let me get Detective Morrison to take a look at this. Morrison? Yeah, why? Nothing, just interesting name. Detective Morrison turned out to be a thin, serious man in his 50s with no relation to my boss. He studied the emails with the focus Anna's messages deserved. This shows clear intent, he said. We can file charges, but you understand they're probably out of state by now? Colorado, according to the emails. We'll put out a bolo, contact Colorado authorities. But Mr. Patterson, even if we arrest them, getting your money back is still going to be a civil matter. I understand. I just want them to face consequences for what they did. Fair enough. We'll be in touch. I left the station feeling like I'd accomplished something, but the satisfaction was hollow. Anna and Chad were probably sitting in some mountain cabin right now, toasting their successful escape with champagne bought with my money. That evening, I drove to Murphy's Bar, the dive where Ray coached amateur fighters and served drinks that could strip paint. The place smelled like stale beer and honest sweat, a refreshing change from the antiseptic corporate environments I usually inhabited. Ray was behind the bar, polishing glasses with hands that had seen their share of fights both in and out of the ring. You look like hell, he said, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden bar. Feel worse. What did you find out? Good news and bad news. Good news is you've got a solid case for theft and fraud. Bad news is even if they get arrested, recovering the money will take months. What about work? Chad's my boss. Can he fire me for this? Wrongful termination if he does. Guys sleeping with your wife and stealing your money, any judge will see that as retaliation. I took a long pull of beer and stared at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. 42 years old, graying at the temples, still in decent shape, but looking every day of my age. Anna was 36, still young enough to think running away would solve her problems. You know what really gets me? I said. It's not even the money. It's the disrespect. 12 years of marriage, and she thinks I'm too stupid to figure out what happened. Maybe that's the point. Maybe she wanted you to know. What do you mean? Think about it. She leaves the bank statements where you'll find them, doesn't bother hiding her email, takes off with your boss of all people. Either she's the dumbest criminal in history, or she wanted to hurt you as much as possible. Ray had a point. Anna was many things, but careless wasn't one of them. She'd left a trail of breadcrumbs leading right to Chad Morrison and their romantic getaway. She'd wanted me to know exactly what she'd done and exactly who she'd done it with. "So, what's your play?" Ray asked. "Still figuring that out. But Anna's about to learn that underestimating people is a dangerous game." I finished my beer and headed home to my empty house, my mind already working through possibilities. Anna thought she'd won, thought she'd outsmarted the boring IT guy who never paid attention to what she was doing. She was about to discover just how wrong she'd been. 3 days later, Chad Morrison called in sick again. His secretary, Janet, sounded apologetic when she forwarded his clients to me. "Food poisoning," she explained. "Poor man's been laid up since Tuesday." "Terrible shame," I replied, pulling up the Morrison Tech client database on my laptop. "I'll handle his appointments." What Janet didn't know was that I'd spent the last 72 hours becoming an expert on Chad Morrison's life. His social media accounts, his financial history, his habits and weaknesses. When you've got administrative access to a company's entire network, you can learn fascinating things about people. Chad lived in a glass-walled condo downtown, drove a red Porsche he'd financed at an interest rate that suggested his credit wasn't as good as his lifestyle implied. He was married to a woman named Patricia, who worked as a real estate agent and apparently had no idea her husband was currently in Colorado with another woman. I'd also discovered something interesting about Anna's new job at Morrison Tech. She'd been hired as head of human resources, but the company already had an HR department. Anna's position was newly created, with a salary that was exactly double what she'd been making at her previous job, the kind of generous offer that comes with expectations beyond filing paperwork. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Anna. We need to talk." I stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "About what?" "About moving forward. I don't want this to get ugly. Too late for that. David, be reasonable. We can work this out like adults. Adults don't steal $43,000 and run off to Colorado." The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times before her next message arrived. "How did you know about Colorado?" "Lucky guess." "How's the mountain air?" "We need to talk. In person." "I'm sure you'd like that. Unfortunately, I'm busy filing police reports." "Police reports?" "Theft charges, fraud, the works. You really should have been more careful with your emails." This time the pause stretched for nearly 10 minutes. "You went through my private messages? Your tablet was logged into your email. Amazing what people leave lying around when they're in a hurry. That's invasion of privacy. That's evidence. See you in court." I turned off my phone and got back to work. Chad's client appointments were routine: network maintenance for a dental office, server updates for an accounting firm, the kind of steady, reliable work that kept Morrison Tech profitable. But I wasn't feeling particularly reliable today. At the dental office, I made sure to mention that Chad Morrison was taking some personal time to sort out his relationship issues. "Marriage troubles," I confided to the office manager. "You know how it is." The accounting firm got a similar story, along with my business card and a suggestion that they might want to consider working directly with independent contractors instead of going through Morrison Tech. "More personal service," I explained, "and better rates." By Thursday afternoon, I'd planted seeds of doubt about Chad Morrison's professionalism with half his client base. Nothing actionable, nothing he could prove, just the kind of casual gossip that makes people start questioning their business relationships. Friday morning brought better news. Detective Morrison called to inform me that Anna and Chad had been located at a cabin outside Denver. They'd been arrested on theft charges and were fighting extradition back to our state. "Your wife's lawyer is claiming it was a civil matter," Detective Morrison explained, "but the emails you provided show clear criminal intent. The district attorney thinks we can make the charges stick." "What happens now?" "They'll probably be released on bail within a few days, but they'll have to come back here for trial, and their passports have been flagged in case they try to run again." I thanked the detective and hung up, feeling genuinely satisfied for the first time since this whole mess started. Anna and Chad were about to discover that actions have consequences, even when you think you've covered your tracks. My satisfaction was short-lived. That afternoon, Patricia Morrison called the office. Is this David Patterson? Yes, ma'am. This is Chad Morrison's wife. I think we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory, for what promised to be an uncomfortable conversation. Patricia Morrison was a sharp-looking woman in her 40s, with the kind of controlled composure that comes from years of dealing with difficult clients and difficult situations. I know about the affair, she said without preamble. I've known for months. Then why didn't I stop it? Because I was gathering evidence for the divorce. What I didn't know was that they'd stolen your money. She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were photographs, bank statements, and hotel receipts documenting Chad's relationship with Anna going back 6 months. Private investigator, she explained. Chad thought he was being clever, but he's never been as smart as he thinks he is. Why are you showing me this? Because I want him to lose everything. The business, the condo, the Porsche, all of it. But I can't do it alone. Patricia's plan was elegant in its simplicity. As Chad's wife, she had access to Morrison Tech's financial records. She'd discovered that Chad had been using company funds to pay for his relationship with Anna. The expensive dinners, the hotel rooms, even Anna's inflated salary. Embezzlement, she said. We can prove he stole at least $30,000 from the company over the past 6 months. What do you need from me? Access to the network logs. You installed most of the company's systems. You know where the digital fingerprints are buried. I studied Patricia Morrison across the coffee shop table. She had the focused intensity of someone who'd been planning this moment for a long time. Chad had underestimated her, the same way Anna had underestimated me. What's in it for me? Chad loses his business license. Anna loses her job reference and probably faces additional charges. And you get a partner who can help you recover your money. It was a good offer. More than good. It was exactly the kind of systematic destruction that fit the crime. Chad and Anna had thought they could steal my life and disappear without consequences. They were about to learn how wrong they'd been. I'm in, I said. Patricia smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. Then let's get to work. Monday morning, Chad Morrison returned to work looking like a man who'd aged 5 years in a week. The Colorado mountain air hadn't been kind to him, or maybe it was the reality of facing felony theft charges that had put the gray pallor in his cheeks. He called me into his office at 9 sharp, closing the door with the careful precision of someone trying to maintain control of a situation that had already spiraled beyond his grasp. Dave, we need to clear the air about this whole misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I settled into the chair across from his desk, noting the stack of legal documents piled next to his computer. Which part was the misunderstanding? The affair with my wife or the theft of my money? Look, I know how this looks, but it looks like you slept with my wife and helped her steal $43,000 from our joint account, because that's exactly what happened. Chad leaned back in his executive chair, trying to project authority he no longer possessed. Anna made her own choices. I didn't force her to do anything. Including transferring our savings to an account you control? That was her idea. She wanted to make sure the money was safe while you two worked out your differences. The sheer audacity of the lie was almost impressive. Chad Morrison, successful businessman and pillar of the community, sitting in his corner office trying to convince me that stealing my life savings was actually a favor. Safe, I repeated. Right. That's why you took it to Colorado. Dave, I'm willing to make this right. Anna can transfer your half back, and we can all move on with our lives. My half? Well, it was a joint account. Legally, she's entitled to half. I laughed, actually laughed, sitting there in his office with its motivational posters and leadership awards. Chad, you really don't understand what's happening here, do you? What do you mean? I mean, you're not in a position to negotiate. You're facing felony charges for theft and fraud. Your wife is divorcing you and taking half your assets, and your business is about to implode. Chad's face went pale. What are you talking about? Patricia showed me the financial records. Company funds used for personal expenses, inflated salaries for unqualified employees, falsified billing records. Should I go on? You can't prove any of that. Actually, I can. Network logs, email records, digital fingerprints from every transaction. Amazing what you can find when you know where to look. I stood up and walked to the door, then turned back to face him. Oh, and Chad? You're fired. You can't fire me. I own this company. Check your partnership agreement. Patricia owns 51% of Morrison Tech as of this morning. Turns out she's been buying out your silent partners while you were busy playing house with my wife. The look on Chad's face was worth every sleepless night I'd spent planning this moment. He grabbed the partnership documents from his desk, scanning through pages with growing horror. This is impossible. Those shares weren't for sale. They were when Patricia offered them twice market value and provided evidence that you'd been embezzling company funds. Funny how quickly people turn on you when they realize you're a liability. I left Chad sitting in what used to be his office, staring at legal documents that had just made him a minority partner in his own company. Patricia was waiting in the hallway with a security guard and a box for Chad's personal belongings. "Mr. Morrison," she said with professional courtesy, "you have 30 minutes to clear out your office. Your company credit cards and building access have been revoked. Patricia, you can't do this. We can work something out. Actually, I can, and we will, in divorce court." I spent the rest of the morning helping Patricia change passwords and access codes throughout the Morrison Tech network. By noon, Chad Morrison had been effectively erased from the company he'd built, reduced to the status of a minority shareholder with no operational authority. Anna called that afternoon, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "What did you do?" "Good afternoon to you too, Anna. How was jail?" "David, this has gone far enough. Chad lost his company because of you." "Chad lost his company because he's a thief and an embezzler. I just helped his wife prove it. You're destroying people's lives. I'm returning the favor. We can fix this. The money, I can pay it back. We can all move on." "From what? You don't have a job anymore. Chad doesn't have a business. What exactly are you going to pay me back with?" The silence stretched long enough for me to finish my sandwich and check my email. "I'll get a lawyer," she finally said. "You already have one. How's that working out for you?" "David, please. We were married for 12 years. That has to count for something." It did count for something. It counted for $43,000 and a life I thought we were building together. You decided it wasn't worth keeping. I made a mistake. No, Anna. A mistake is forgetting to pay the electric bill or burning dinner. What you did was a choice, a series of choices, and now you get to live with the consequences. I hung up and went back to work. Patricia had offered me a partnership in the newly restructured Morrison Tech, which we were renaming Patterson Morrison Solutions. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from employee to business owner because my boss couldn't keep his hands off my wife. That evening, I drove to Murphy's Bar to celebrate with Ray. The place was busy for a Thursday night, filled with off-duty cops and construction workers unwinding after long days. "So let me get this straight," Ray said, sliding a beer across the bar. "Your wife steals your money and runs off with your boss. You get them arrested, get your boss fired, take over his company, and now you're business partners with his soon-to-be ex-wife. That's about the size of it. And the money? Patricia's lawyers found it in an account Chad set up in Colorado. We'll have it back within a month, plus interest and penalties." Ray shook his head in admiration. "Brother, you don't mess around when someone crosses you." "Haven't even gotten started yet." "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of Anna's latest social media post, a photo of her at some upscale restaurant with Lisa Hartman, both of them smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. The caption read, "True friends stick by you through everything." Anna's been staying with Lisa since she got back from Colorado, living in her guest room, driving her car, probably eating her food, playing the victim, telling everyone how her mean ex-husband destroyed her life. So Lisa Hartman teaches yoga at the community center and runs a small wellness consulting business. Very image-conscious, very concerned about her reputation in the community. And she's about to discover that being friends with Anna comes with a price. Ray studied my expression with the careful attention of someone who'd seen me in the ring. Dave, what are you planning? Nothing illegal, nothing violent, just making sure the truth comes out. The truth about what? About who Anna really is, and who helped her plan this whole thing. I finished my beer and headed home, my mind already working through the next phase of the plan. Anna thought she could hide behind Lisa Hartman's reputation and wait for the heat to die down. She thought the worst was over. She was wrong. The Riverside Community Center's annual wellness fair was the kind of event that defined our small city's social hierarchy. Local business owners, city council members, and anyone who considered themselves part of the community's elite gathered to network, donate to worthy causes, and see who was rising or falling in the local pecking order. Lisa Hartman had organized the event for 3 years running, using it as a showcase for her yoga studio and wellness consulting business. This year's fair was her biggest yet. 200 attendees, local media coverage, and enough community leaders to make or break reputations with a single conversation. I arrived at 6:30, 30 minutes after the official start time. The community center's main hall buzzed with conversation and the gentle sounds of acoustic guitar from the meditation corner Lisa had set up. Organic food vendors lined the walls, and the air smelled like essential oils and expensive coffee. Anna spotted me immediately. She was standing near the registration table with Lisa, both of them dressed in the kind of casual but expensive outfits that screamed, successful wellness professional. Anna's face went pale when our eyes met across the room. I walked over with the confidence of a man who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Anna, Lisa, lovely event. David, Lisa said, her yoga instructor smile never wavering. How nice to see you. I wasn't sure you'd be interested in wellness activities. Oh, I'm very interested in wellness. Community wellness, specifically. The health of our local social fabric. Anna grabbed Lisa's arm. We should check on the vendors. Actually, I said, raising my voice just enough to catch the attention of nearby conversations, I was hoping to share some thoughts about wellness and personal responsibility. The acoustic guitar stopped playing. Conversations began to quiet as people sensed drama developing. David, Anna said quietly, don't do this. Do what? Share my experience with the community? Talk about the importance of trust and honesty in relationships? Mayor Henderson approached our little group, drawn by the tension like a politician to a photo opportunity. David Patterson, isn't it? I heard about your troubles. Terrible business. Thank you, Mayor. Actually, it's been quite educational. Amazing what you learn about people when they think they can take advantage of you. I turned to address the growing crowd of onlookers. You know, I've been thinking a lot about wellness lately, about what it means to live authentically, to be true to your commitments, to treat others with respect. David, please, Anna whispered. And I've realized that some people talk about wellness and authenticity while living completely different lives in private. Take my wife Anna, for example. The crowd was fully engaged now, sensing an opportunity. Anna's face had gone from pale to flushed, and Lisa looked like she wanted to vanish into the meditation corner. Anna's been staying with Lisa here while she sorts out her life. What she hasn't told anyone is why she needs to sort it out. See, Anna decided that our 12-year marriage wasn't fulfilling enough for her. That's enough, Lisa said, stepping forward. This isn't the place for personal disputes. You're absolutely right, Lisa. Personal disputes should be handled privately, between the people involved. They shouldn't involve stealing $43,000 from joint savings accounts and running off to Colorado with someone else's husband. The crowd murmured with interest. Anna grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. Stop talking. Right now. Why? Embarrassed? You weren't embarrassed when you were planning this with Lisa over Sunday dinners at our house. You weren't embarrassed when you were transferring our money to accounts controlled by Chad Morrison. You weren't embarrassed when you were sending him photos and messages about how much better he was than your boring husband. That's not true, Anna said, but her voice lacked conviction. I pulled out my phone and opened the email screenshots I'd saved. Would you like me to read some of your messages out loud? I particularly enjoyed the one where you called me too comfortable and predictable to fight back. Mayor Henderson stepped closer, his political instincts recognizing a scandal that could dominate local gossip for months. David, are you saying your wife committed theft? I'm saying my wife, with the help and encouragement of her friend Lisa, planned and executed a scheme to steal our joint savings and disappear with another woman's husband. The police have arrested both Anna and Chad Morrison on felony theft charges. The crowd erupted in whispers and shocked exclamations. Lisa's carefully constructed wellness guru image was crumbling in real time as people began to understand her role in the drama. I didn't know about the money, Lisa protested. Anna never told me about that part. I showed my phone screen to the mayor and several other prominent community members. Actually, Lisa, you did know. These are text messages between you and Anna discussing the exit strategy and how to maximize the financial outcome. You helped her plan the whole thing. Those messages are private, Lisa said desperately. Not anymore. Amazing how quickly private becomes public when you're facing criminal charges. Anna was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks as she realized the full scope of her social destruction. Every single person in that room would be talking about this for the rest of the week, if not longer. The story would spread like wildfire through the community. Her reputation, her standing in the social hierarchy, her ability to rebuild her life in this city, all of it was disintegrating before her eyes, in front of 200 people who had no obligation to protect her. David, please, she sobbed, her voice trembling. I'll do anything. I'll pay back every penny, I didn't let her finish. You'll face the consequences of your choices, I said, my voice firm, just like everyone else. I took a breath and turned to address the crowd one last time. The air in the room felt thick with tension, but I was calm. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for disrupting your wellness fair, I said, my voice carrying through the room. But I thought it was important for everyone to understand what real wellness looks like. It's not about surface-level facades. It's about taking responsibility for your actions. It's about treating others with honesty and respect. It's about building something meaningful instead of tearing it down for fleeting pleasure. I turned and began to walk toward the exit, feeling every eye in the room on me. Anna and Lisa stood frozen, the weight of their actions finally sinking in. The crowd parted to let me pass, and I could already hear the buzz of excited conversations beginning behind me. Whispers, rumors. My words were already spreading like wildfire. Outside in the parking lot, my phone was buzzing with text messages and missed calls. Word was spreading through social media faster than I had anticipated. By morning, the full story would be everywhere. The details of Anna's betrayal, Lisa's involvement, and the way they'd tried to manipulate me for their own gain. It was all going to be exposed. I drove home to my empty house, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt clean. The silence wasn't oppressive. It felt like the house had been purged of lies, deception, and all the people who'd never deserved to be in my life. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. 3 weeks later, Anna and Chad both pleaded guilty to theft charges and agreed to pay full restitution, plus penalties. Lisa, meanwhile, had seen her wellness consulting clients slowly disappear. She was forced to close her yoga studio, the reputation she'd built along with it. The fallout was swift and unforgiving. Patricia and I, on the other hand, launched Patterson Morrison Solutions. We'd secured several major contracts and were quickly building a solid reputation for reliable service. Our client base grew steadily, and I could see that everything we'd built was starting to gain traction. It was a fresh start, one without the weight of betrayal looming over us. Anna left town shortly after the plea agreement was finalized. She packed up and moved back to her mother's house in another state. Chad found a job as a junior network technician for a company that didn't care about background checks. Lisa took a job teaching yoga at a gym in the suburbs where nobody knew her story. As for me, I kept the house, kept the business, and most importantly, I kept my self-respect. In the process, I'd learned something crucial about the difference between being comfortable and being complacent. Anna had been right about one thing. I had become too comfortable, too trusting. I'd been so focused on building my life, so eager to create something meaningful, that I failed to notice when someone was planning to tear it down from within. But here's the thing. She had been wrong about the most important part. I wasn't too comfortable to fight back. I had simply chosen to be selective about when and how I fought. And when I finally did choose to fight back, I made sure to win.